Ready?
Ready on left?
Yep.
I call a meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, our invocation will be given by Pastor Jonathan Shard from the Holly Springs Kirk. And welcome back, Pastor. Good to see you. I saw you Sunday, though.
We did see each other Sunday.
We did.
I'm glad that we did.
I'm glad, too.
Mr. Mayor, members of Town Council, it's always a pleasure to come and bring prayer and to invoke God in this process of government. It looks like you have an especially rowdy crowd tonight, so we might have to have an extra special strong prayer, but excited.
All right.
And Mr. Mayor, before I pray, on behalf of the Kirk of Holly Springs, of course, and I think I can say this for our other religious communities
Yes, you can.
Here in Holly Springs, we welcome our new town manager, Randy Harrington, and his wife, Kara, and their kids, Campbell, Arden, and Harper. Did I get that right? Wonderful. Welcome. We're glad you're here. Will you please join me in prayer? Sovereign God, we give thanks to you for the gift of this day, for the gift of and the beauty of your creation, for the gift of trees and of birds, for the gift of recreation, for home runs, stellar defensive plays, for places of recreation, for water, and, oh God, for this community. We rejoice and give thanks to you. We pray especially this evening, oh God, for the life and work of our new town manager. We pray blessing upon Randy Harrington and his family, Kara, Campbell, Arden, and Harper. Bless them, O God, with strength. Bless them, O God, with a newfound sense of joy as they come into this new place, making this transition. And now, O God, we give thanks for our society, for our town, and for the process by which we as citizens gather together and elect our officials, and for the process by which they discern and make decisions. We pray you bless our mayor and our members of town council and all of those who serve this wonderful town. Bless them and keep them all. It is in the name of God Almighty, Jesus Christ, his Son, the Holy Spirit, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I caught the home run part. Item number 4 is adjustment approval of the August 21st, 2018 meeting agenda. Mayor Pro Tem.
Motion to adopt the August 21st, 2018 meeting agenda with no changes.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Number 5, public comment period. We only have one person signed up, so I will ask him to come up as we open public hearing. Gerald Holloman. And the 3 minutes don't count till you get there, Gerald. You know that. Good seeing you again. I hear you.
I'm delighted to be here, to tell you the truth. I came because I want to welcome the new town manager. You've got a dream job. I've been here most of my life. I served the mayor here for 17 years when we had outdoor toilets and no indoor plumbing. That's been many years ago. But you got one of the finest staffs in this country. You got engineering, you got planning, the police department. I don't know much about all these people sitting in the stable up here, but I know about these people sitting in these chairs out here. They are excellent people. They know what they're doing, and they've made this town grow. And I'm glad you're here. I welcome you. I'm probably one of the oldest citizens here. I moved to Holly Springs in 1941, and was 5 years old then. But anyway, I love this town. I love its people. This town staff is, over the years, people have retired, but you've got excellent people here now. Some great people sitting right up here, sitting over there. The lady that does the engineering, she is very good at what she does. Very good. You got planning back over here somewhere, and I want to say you're in for a good ride. Have fun, and this place is a long ways to go. We could go west, and it says go west, young man, go west. That's the way the town should go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald.
Sit down.
Great to see you.
I think it's now appropriate to close the public hearing. Agenda item 6A, special recognition. You ready? Holly Springs All-Star Baseball and Softball Team recognition, Chris Champion and Jason Snuggs. On coming up. We rehearsed this, right? Never mind.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. My name is Chris Champion. This is Jason Snuggs. We're here from the Parks and Recreation Athletic Department. And tonight we're going to recognize two of our spring All-Star teams for their accomplishments in the statewide athletics committee tournaments. These tournaments are comprised of Parks and Recreation All-Star teams from across the entire state. This year, both our 10U softball and 12U baseball teams won the state championship in their division. Let's give them a round of applause. We are extremely proud of all of the players for their hard work and dedication throughout the year. We would also like to thank the parents for supporting their kids and our program. Lastly, none of this success would be possible without the dedication and sacrifice of all of our volunteer coaches. These guys willingly give of their time and effort to make these players become better young men and women. So first up, we would like to individually recognize the 10U softball team and Coach Pete Caldwell. You guys can come up.
All right. This is an exciting night, I guess, tonight. Everyone's standing room only. I like it. I have to say that this has been an amazing experience for all the parents and the kids. This is a great group of girls, really good group of girls. Listen, I've not seen a group of girls get along so well, play so hard. We were actually losing every game. We played 9 games where we were 7-2 in this tournament, and we were getting better. We crushed these teams in the finals. These girls, if they kept playing, they could have, who knows, they could have won national tournaments. They were playing so well. I'm super proud of them. And I want to also thank Parks and Rec, because there was a lot of teams that participated in it, but there was also a lot of teams or communities that didn't. And we're real fortunate to have a Parks and Rec department that did the extra work and created the culture where parents want to participate and give up their summers so that these kids can have an amazing experience. So I owe it a lot to the Parks and Rec group here, because without them organizing all of this and taking care of the fields through the summer and giving us all the field time we needed, none of this would have happened. This great opportunity for these young ladies. Okay, yeah, let's go, hey. All right, girls, I have your certificates. We're missing 3 players tonight, but we'll make sure we honor them. First, Bailey Figueroa. Danica Hartwick. Maya Caldwell. Cameron Bird. Kaylee Miller. Kendall Wallace. Maddie Herndon. Ella Polk. Gianna Laguda. Haley Marlowe. Thomas, are you here tonight? Thomas, come on up. Thomas Polk, assistant coach. And then our other assistant coach, Ken Hartwick, he couldn't make it tonight, as well as Adara McCall, and then our twin towers of Reagan Ray and Caroline Ray. They were unable to make it tonight. Thank you.
Parents, anyone want photos?
Pictures. That's why we all moved out of the house. Because we get pretty pictures.
Next up, we have 12U baseball with Coach Jeremy Finch.
Give them a second to get up here. They weren't as neatly organized as the girls' softball here. They can't be struck. First off, Mr. Mayor, council members, I just want to say what a privilege it was, echoing the softball coach's comments, to coach such a fine group of young men right here. These guys, you know, coaching an all-star team is challenging in its own respect. You get, you know, a collection of guys that were playing during the regular season. They're used to being the best on their team, and now all of a sudden they come together on another team with 13 other guys who are just as good as they are. And you got about 3 weeks to get them together, find out their strengths and weaknesses, get their personalities to gel, and get them ready for battle. And so we threw it at them. We had 14 days of practice, multiple hours each day. I think we had one day stretch where we had about 6 days in a row where we were practicing in the heat. And so we walked into the regional tournament, which was in Fuquay of all places, crosstown rival, and got to play Fuquay in the very first game. And these guys, I tell you, they fought and they were relentless in these games, and it showed. In that regional tournament, we faced some adversity. We lost in the Saturday game after winning our first couple on a walk-off walk. And
And these guys walked out with the wind out of their sails. You got to come back on Sunday and you got to do the unthinkable, which is win 3 games in a day. And when we came back on that Sunday, it was hot. I mean, it was mid-90s, upper 90s with the humidity. And these guys won not 1, not 2, but all 3 games to take the regional championship against unbelievable odds. And so I knew after that championship game on that Sunday in the regionals, I was like, this team is like a freight train. There's nothing that's going to stop them. I didn't tell them that, of course, but I knew that there was nothing that was going to stop them. The coaches, we knew it. So we walked into the state tournament, and they just rolled through the thing, beat every team that we played. 3 up, 3 down, went right to the championship game, and took out a very good Sandhills All-Star team. So these guys left no doubt in anybody's mind at either of these tournament sites that they were the best team there. And for the baseball junkies in the room, I threw together a couple of stats just to cement how dominant these guys were. They outscored their opponents across both tournaments 99-34. They out-hit their opponents 115-44. And the overall team batting average was .477. So they finished 8-1 and brought it back to the town of Holly Springs. So I couldn't, very proud of what they accomplished, but the thing that I was the most proud of is the way that they represented the town. At both tournament sites, I had tournament directors walk up and shook my hand, commenting on how they carried themselves and displayed sportsmanship, respect for the opponent, how they got along with each other. I had, at the state tournament, I had opponents, fans of the other teams we beat, walk up and shake my hand and make comments on how these boys here carried themselves. So that, the wins and losses is great, championships in their case, both regional and state, but how they carried themselves and the comments that we got, and everybody said how impressed they were with the town of Holly Springs. That was what I was most proud of with these guys. So hats off to these guys on the way they represent the town. And thanks to everybody, the town, Chris, echoing the softball coach's comments, everything they've put together there in a regular season, this whole all-star program, giving these teams a chance to play in these tournaments is spectacular, and the support they provide. Thanks to my assistant coaches, Nathan Ryder here and Ricky Marzola, and the parents with their, they had their custom-made All-Stars t-shirts that they came to the site, and they were loud and proud. So once again, thank you, everybody. All right, so we'll recognize, starting off with Charlie Abeen. Mark Ryder. Jackson Piermont. Jens Steiner. Josh Sloan. Nick Marzola. Caleb Butcher. Dominic Parinello. Rowan Smith. Jackson Pike. Jacob Church. Austin Finch. Benji Pearson. Dylan Greetalk. Assistant coach Nathan Ryder. Assistant coach Ricky Marzola. Had one other assistant who helped out quite a bit, Chris Butcher.
Pictures?
Picture time. You guys are really going to have to get together somehow.
Nobody wants us.
Wasn't that exciting?
Yeah. I love that.
I will wait for a couple of minutes, obviously.
Dick, do you remember when I coached the All-Star team
Yeah,
and we had Southeast Region here, Cal Ripken?
yeah.
Remember I told you,
I don't remember what you told me.
I asked you, do we have money for a bus to go to Cleveland?
I kind of remember that.
And you said, well, we have no money, but I guess you're paying to go to Cleveland. I said, oh, doesn't the town get
What's that?
pay for us to go to Cleveland?
Tell what's cheap, man.
A bus.
We're getting a
One
bus.
game.
We're going to call it the Holly Trolley.
That was
A long time ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 or 6, yeah, 5.
Lots of room now.
So it was a long day,
Yeah.
but all good.
Cal Ripken.
All good.
It's a name from the past, of course.
Yeah, Cal Ripken.
Yeah.
Remember we hosted it?
Yeah, it's great. I do.
Teams from all over.
Uh-huh.
Come on back in. All right, agenda item 6B, special recognition. 2018 NCAPA Great Main Street in the Making Award. And if you haven't seen it next door, take a look at your right when you go out the door. Gina Clapp.
Well, good evening.
Good evening, Gina.
So tonight is the night of great things. And so, as we know, Holly Springs has a lot of great things for the kids. Well, we are now in the process of creating a great Main Street for the residents of Holly Springs. And great Main Streets don't happen by chance. Holly Springs has been planning for Main Street in downtown Holly Springs for many years, starting in 1996 with its first Village Business District zoning, and then in 1998 with the first Downtown Vision Plan, and then 2005 with the adoption of the Village District Area Plan. Throughout the years after that, the town has invested a lot of public money into creating a downtown and also working with economic development, with downtown development investment programs, and all of the departments within the town. It would not be possible to have a downtown without every department being involved in some way, shape, or form. And so I'm going to play a quick video. It's a short snippet of the main video that had been played out on the town's webpage. I'm not sure how to, there it is.
Yep.
Holly Springs is the source of many great things. We're a great place to live. We have great neighborhoods, great parks, great schools, great businesses. We're a great place to raise kids. There are so many great aspects of Holly Springs, and every great town deserves a great Main Street. Encouraging a more vibrant downtown has been a priority of the town's leaders, planners, and residents for more than 2 decades. The Holly Springs community has been involved in every planning effort. Public investment in Main Street includes the Town Hall, constructed in 2003. Public resources have also funded decorative sidewalks and crosswalks, parking lots, a small green space, and more. In 2007, the Town Department of Planning and Zoning launched the award-winning Holly Springs Farmers Market, which continues to draw people to Main Street every weekend during the warmer months.
Momentum has been building, and now, Main Street in Holly Springs is finally seeing a dramatic transformation.
More than 100,000 square feet of mixed-use space fronting the 2 blocks immediately south of Town Hall is being constructed and will offer retail, restaurant, and office spaces, bringing about 35 businesses downtown, with a future potential of 60 more with co-working offices. The development will create about 500 jobs and make a $49.7 million annual economic impact. Across Main Street from the mixed-use construction, a long-vacant home, said to be one of the town's oldest, is being renovated into a furniture consignment store and coffee shop. A few blocks down, a home built in the 1840s is being converted into a Southern-inspired tea room. The town is investing in infrastructure and streetscape improvements, constructing a new public parking structure, and building a stormwater area.
In essence, with so many functions and with our ability to blend our history with new development that will attract people to our downtown core, Main Street is becoming what it has desired to be since the 1800s, the heartbeat of Holly Springs.
Good job.
Yep. So I would like to do a shout out and thank you to Sean Ryan, our Planner 2 in the Department of Planning and Zoning, for submitting the award nomination to the American Planning Association for this award. We were able to go down to the North Carolina General Assembly where on May 23rd, where the chapter had an award announcement press conference in which all of our state representatives and senators were invited to that. Senator Tamara Behringer did come out and speak on behalf of the town at that event and had several staff members present. And then NCAPA came to Holly Springs itself to actually present the award. And here's the award. On July 28th at Founders Day, and we felt that that was a very appropriate day to come and celebrate Main Street, as that is the day we celebrate G.B. Alford, our town founder's birthday. So I'll pass the award on.
Thank you.
We will post that in a great place of significance. And so we are very excited about this because this has been a long time in the making. So while you're taking a look at that, Sean has no idea that I'm going to give his Friday Fun Day factoid. So all of our residents, you know, over the years have said, why can't we have a downtown like Apex? And I want to let you know, thanks to Sean on a Friday afternoon, thinking about what was happening just south of Town Hall here, is if you look at downtown Apex and you visit Apex, the majority of their downtown is the one block area. You have Anna's on this side, a Peak City Grill here, and that's the majority of that downtown area. That block of Apex's downtown is 360 feet. The area that's under construction right now for the 242 Town Hall Commons building is about 364 feet. When you add in the block that's going to start construction in the next couple of months, that block length becomes 710 feet of store frontage along Main Street in Holly Springs. If you take our central core area from the Mims-Town Center building down to the edge of the block is about 1,064 feet. And if you take the area from the main area of downtown Apex, from the bakery, this is the theater and outdoor shop, there in downtown Apex. Theirs is 1,023 feet. So as you can tell, what we are about ready to have happen here in downtown Holly Springs is equivalent or slightly larger than that of the town of Apex. And I know Mayor Sears, you will enjoy that factoid as you speak to your counterpart in Apex.
Just above the peak of good living.
So we are very excited about it, and this is not just an award for the Department of Planning and Zoning, it's an award for all departments, it's an award for our residents and the longtime support, and especially all of the past town councils, mayors, planning board members that have worked so hard in trying to get this vision a reality. So thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Any questions or comments?
No.
Great job.
Had the pleasure of talking about this to the Wake County Mayor Association last night, and they all thought it was a great idea. So thank you again, Gina, and pleasure.
Awesome.
Now, what we've been waiting for is Agenda 6C, Special Recognition. I think it's called Introduction of Town Manager Randy Harrington. That would be me. And I will say a few things first. It's both my pleasure and an honor to introduce him as a new town manager. I've received so many phone calls from people who I didn't even know, mayors, former mayors, fashion directors, etc., that says, we've worked with him and he is terrific. You made a great choice. And that was confirmed by our financial director, Mary Hogan, this morning, I believe it was, wasn't it, Mary, when you came in? We talked about how many phone calls you've gotten, so you're off to a great start, sir. And some of you had the pleasure of meeting him downstairs, and he's probably a little tired right now, but I'm going to ask him to, again, come up to the podium, say a few words, if you would, sir, and introduce that lovely family of yours, which I've already met. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council, and thank you, members of the community and staff members who are here tonight. I want to say how grateful my family and I are for the gracious welcome that you've given me. It's been extraordinary, and I think it really says a lot about this town and the character and the quality that's here. So thank you for that very much. I want to say thank you to the mayor and council. I think there's been some dialogue at the dais about how hard the council worked and how good they worked throughout this process. And I will tell you, having sat on the other side, that it was a very tough process. It was a very fair process and a very appropriate process. And it's one that the council and the mayor, the questions that they asked me and the care and the consideration that they had, you could tell that this is a council and a mayor that's headed in a great direction. And as I've mentioned to a number of folks who I met, this is a town that has just tremendous momentum. And that's a great thing to see in a community. So I want to thank you for this opportunity very much. Let me introduce my family. I have my wonderful wife of 18 years almost, Kara.
Would you mind standing up for just a second, please? People in the back can't see.
Great. So, yeah, my wife, Kara. And I have 3 children. My oldest is Campbell. He's a rising 7th grader.
Come on, Campbell.
He's my basketball player and golfer, and I can still barely beat him in the driveway basketball game. So just maybe a couple more years. My middle daughter, Arden. She's our dancer, and Arden is the one that when I go to work every day, she asks me the same question every day, and that is, Daddy, when are you going to be home tonight? So she's a really sweet girl. And then my youngest, Harper, if any of you had a chance to talk with her downstairs, she probably talked your ear off. Harper is our youngest, and she is a rising 1st grader. And Harper is one who gives excellent hugs. So if anybody in the room needs a hug at the end of the night, Harper's your person to go to. So, but this is my family and the pride and joy of my life, and I'm very grateful for them and how they've supported me.
Let's give them a thank you.
And I'll just conclude, Mayor and Council, with what I would call, I guess, some commitments. And those commitments to you, to the Mayor and Council, it's my honor and privilege to help you attain the vision and the priorities that you have for Council, and to do that in a way that's ethical, professional, with myself and the town staff, and it's in an organization that's going to live up to the highest ordeals and principles in public administration, that you can count on that. For the staff members in the audience, my commitment is we're going to be a great team. We saw some great teams in here a little bit earlier, and that's the type of teamwork that we're going to have, and a team that supports each other and ensures that every one of us is successful in what we do. And then for the community, those of you who are here from the community, that we're an organization that listens and that we're an organization that partners as well. So I give you that commitment and a level of excitement and to get embedded in the community and really get to know and live in Holly Springs. So we're excited about that as a family. And I want to thank you again, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity. I'm ready to get going on Monday, August 27th, and looking forward to very much working with you. So thank you very much.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I'm glad Harper likes to give hugs.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
Maybe we
might
should have
call
Harper
on
come.
you.
No, we'll
Right.
do that later. She's something else. The family is, if you wish to leave now, fine. If you don't, stay for a while, but we enjoyed having you. Thank you so much. Agenda item number 7A, public hearing, 18 REZ 025836 Cass Holt Road. Melissa Sigmund. Oh, I saw you someplace. There you go. Thanks again.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For item 18 REZ 02, we will request to open the public hearing and continue the public hearing on this item to September 4th, 2018, our next meeting, to allow time to properly notice this item. So this is just in order to make sure we follow all the procedures for public noticing. We asked to continue until that date.
Melissa, could you... Any question in the motion?
Could you just clarify what the exact issue was?
Certainly. There was just an
signs or-
oversight in posting the signs on the property itself. So in order to ensure that we meet all the statutory requirements and allow proper public notice, this would allow the sufficient time for those signs to be out there in case folks drive by, see the sign, so that they can attend the meeting on September 4th.
Thanks.
Will this pose any issue with regards to timing between when this was heard by the planning board and council receiving that information? Is there?
So because we are opening the public hearing this evening, in case anyone had heard about the item previously through our other public noticing aspects, they would have the opportunity this evening to understand that the item will be continued to September 4th, so it would still meet all requirements in that manner. Twofold.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we need a motion to continue.
Motion to continue the public hearing to resume September 4, 2018.
Second.
Motion been made, second, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Agenda item 7B, public hearing 18 UDO 04 historic preservation incentives. And he has taught me a few things today about that. Sean Ryan.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. I am here tonight to kind of follow up on our conversation that we originally started back in April of this year at our workshop on historic preservation. At that workshop, we went through just kind of an overview of the town's current policies and programs for historic preservation, and then also talked about if there were any things that we could do to further encourage historic preservation in Holly Springs. So we talked about the carrot approach and the stick approach. The carrot possibly offering certain incentives for property owners or developers who agree to preserve historic resources as part of their development projects. Or on the other hand, we could approach the North Carolina General Assembly and ask them for some enabling legislation. We discussed that we would hold off on that approach and maybe try to explore the incentive approach first and see if we could come up with some incentives that would work and achieve our goals in historic preservation. So we went back to the drawing board and we came up with what we feel are a good list of incentives that the town council could grant to a developer or property owner as they are going through the development process. So these incentives would not be automatic. The applicant would have to demonstrate through findings of fact that the incentives that they are requesting are the most appropriate for their project. And town council would have the discretion to approve those incentives or deny those incentives if the council felt that the project was not worthy of having those incentives applied. It also gives town council the flexibility to award the incentives that are most appropriate for the project. So if it's a historic resource that we've determined is not as significant as others, some of these incentives may be more appropriate than others. So for example, the proposed density bonus of up to a half a dwelling unit per acre, that may not be appropriate for all projects, but if we have a structure that is significantly deteriorated, that is very important to this community, and the developer is willing to rehabilitate it and save it permanently, then it may be appropriate. And that was one of the items that the planning board actually focused on. There was a little bit of concern that perhaps that was too much of a density bonus. However, it does say up to, so it's not an automatic 0.5. It could be 0.1, 0.2. I think it just depends on the level of preservation that we want to encourage, if that is the incentive that the developer is asking for. In order to be eligible for these incentives, it would require that the property owner agree to put the structure in a historic preservation easement, so that guarantees the longevity of the structure, as well as having a rehabilitation agreement that ensures that the structure will be rehabilitated appropriately and in accordance with common standards for the preservation of historic structures. And then this relates directly back to the map that we saw at last month's town council meeting, the 102 identified historic resources in the Holly Springs planning jurisdiction. So potentially any of these structures could request to utilize any of those incentives, of course approved by the town council as part of their project. I've already kind of briefly gone through the main issue of contention with planning board, the density bonus. There was just some general discussion about the town's historic preservation programs, how these incentives could be applied, and then there were some other ideas thrown out that staff is currently looking into as well. And the planning board did recommend 7-0 to recommend approval of this ordinance change. With that, if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions or comments, Sean?
Could you give just a little bit of background on how you came up with these incentives?
Mm-hmm. So did a little bit of research from municipalities in the area as well as from other states. Looking at other states was a little bit difficult because other states have different laws governing planning and zoning, so we couldn't always apply the same sort of incentives. Nobody in the immediate area except for Morrisville offers any sort of incentives for historic preservation. However, many municipalities offer incentives for other development practices that municipalities want to encourage, such as affordable housing or green building methods. So I use that as a guideline for forming these incentives. Some of them were directly related to issues that we have come up with in the past when historic buildings have come through the process. Waivers for architectural requirements because building additions are not always compatible with the town's architectural requirements. Paved parking areas are not always consistent with historic structures, as well as bonuses that could provide that financial incentive to the developers, such as perhaps the density bonus or using the area that the historic structure is located on as meeting the minimum open space requirements. So that is kind of how we arrived at that. In the village district, some of these incentives could be handled through variances or waivers. Outside of the village district, it would have to go to the Board of Adjustment, and the applicant would have to demonstrate some sort of hardship, and so that may be difficult to do outside of the town council setting.
Other questions or comments?
I just want to make sure I understand. So out the map that we have, you're saying the dots that are outside the village district? What did you just say around the hardship if you're not in the village district?
Yes, so in the village district, or excuse me, in the town village district, the zoning district specifically, any project comes to town council as a special exception use, and an applicant can request waivers and variances from the town council as part of that special exception use process. So you've seen some of those variances with historic structures that are zoned town village. However, if a structure is not zoned town village, the variance requests do not come to the town council. They go to the Board of Adjustment. And although the standards are the same, they are sometimes more difficult to demonstrate in front of the Board of Adjustment that a hardship actually exists. And so that's the difference between the projects.
So you talked about the 102 dots. Does that include 102 dots? Is that some of it will have to go in front of the Board of Adjustment, or is it all within our town village district?
Some of those would have to go before the Board of Adjustment in a normal situation. However, what this would allow would be for the town council to hear those requests rather than the Board of Adjustment, essentially outside of the town village zoning district.
Thank you. Okay, appreciate that.
Other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll open and close the public hearing. No one has signed up. Any further discussion from the council? If not, it'll be two motions.
Motion to accept the statements of compatibility with the comprehensive plan as noted in agenda packets.
Second?
Motion been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Number two.
Motion to adopt ordinance 18-11, approving and enacting a UDO amendment regarding historic preservation incentives.
Second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Agenda item 7C, public hearing, 18 SEU 08 Sug Farm Park. Matt Beard.
Good evening.
Good evening, Matt.
Okay, so likely you are all already familiar with Sug Farm Park. I would hope so, but if you don't know, it is a large park site at the end of Grigsby. The town acquired in 2012. What this petition is doing is allowing for it to legally be a park under our UDO. So if Parks and Rec is looking at expanding any of the facilities out there, they would have had to go through this process to do so, as they are R30 and R20 residential zoned. As it stands, it's kind of split down the middle between R20 and R30. So essentially, this is getting it caught up so that our Parks and Rec can move forward with their master planning efforts out there and start working on some programming. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer
Questions or comments
them.
at this point, Matt? I think we're all pretty familiar with the project.
Okay,
Yes?
excellent.
Yep. Okay, at this point in time, we'll open and close the public hearing. Again, no one signed up. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, there are two motions.
Motion to make and accept the findings of fact to be recorded in the minutes for special exception use petition 18 SEU 08.
Second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Number two.
Having made the necessary findings of fact, a motion to grant special exception use 18-SEU-08 for a park.
Second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. And thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Agenda item 8A, the consent agenda. Mayor Pro Tem.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 9A under new business, Tree City USA, tree bond discussion and feedback. Gina Clapp is back.
So earlier this year at our town council retreat in February, we had some discussions about Tree City USA and what the requirements are in order to be considered and to submit a nomination to gain that recognition. So the National Arbor Day Foundation has 4 different criteria that a municipality must meet in order to submit an application to be considered for Tree City USA. The first is a municipality must have a tree board or a designated department responsible for the urban landscape for the community. You have to have a tree care ordinance, a community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita, and an Arbor Day observance and proclamation. Currently in Holly Springs, we do have several different ordinances that talk about the care and management of trees in different capacities, in regards to street trees, as well as general maintenance provisions for landscape in the Unified Development Ordinance. The town also has much more than just $2 per capita designated for tree care in the annual budget through our contracts for all of the public facilities and maintenance contracts that we have for general maintenance of town hall, all of our buildings, public parking lots, and such. And then also in this year's budget, the town council funded 2 new positions in the Public Works Department that will have the majority of their time designated towards the care of our street trees. We do not currently have an Arbor Day observance, but that's pretty easy to handle. And so today what we want to do is we really want to start off with a conversation about a tree board and how would we go about creating this board and providing some direction to staff. And so in regards to tree boards or department designated, having a department designated does take away a public component from public or citizens being able to be involved to have a say in how the town regulates its urban forest. So we are recommending to go towards a tree board as opposed to just a town department over the urban forests. So it is required to be, in order to have Tree City USA designation, and there's really not a lot of direction in the National Arbor Day Foundation as far as what a tree board is, how its membership needs to be compiled, or really what their duties are. So some thoughts are it can be an existing town board. It can be all citizens. It can include some staff, design professionals, council members, many different things. And so Matt Beard has been leading a lot of our tree preservation. He has completed some evaluation of the 4 other Wake County communities that are tree cities. And so in alphabetical order, we will go. So in Apex, they have a tree citizen advisory panel. It is 5 members appointed by the council, and they do have the majority of their membership on the board is some level of expertise in regards to landscape, as well as generally interested citizens. And in Apex, they are the only community which the charge for their tree board actually mentions anything about Tree City USA, or that they assist with the development of the annual Arbor Day or tree planting events in their community. Cary is a 10-member board, and they have an environmental advisory board. So they do much more than just trees and landscape and urban forestry. It is comprised of all citizens. 6 of them are general citizens, 4 have technical expertise in some capacity. But the majority of their role is to discuss tree canopy, open space, and then also to advise town council on any policies or ordinances related to tree preservation, canopy, native plants, and the like. Wake Forest has a 9-member board, and they are the only community in Wake County that also includes an elected official on their tree board. So they have 1 elected official. They're also the only one that has a staff member as part of the board. And then they have 7 citizens in which they don't specify whether or not they have to have any certain level of expertise. However, in Wake Forest, they too are very involved with the evaluation of new ordinances, and they actually have here in number 3 where they do update and regularly evaluate the Unified Development Ordinance and those requirements. They also are responsible for preparing a plan for the care, preservation, pruning, planting, replanting, removal or disposition of trees, shrubs, plant materials in their parks, streets, and utility right-of-ways. Now, the other unique thing also about Wake Forest is also an electric city, so they do have a lot of equipment and personnel available regularly to be able to do maintenance on their street trees. And then also in Wake Forest, their board is charged with creating an annual report as well to the town council. Raleigh has a 15-member board, and really what it is their Parks and Rec board. And their Parks and Recreation board has a subcommittee for greenways and urban forestry. Not really sure that we were able to figure out how many members are on the subcommittee, but they are responsible for evaluating and providing recommendations on landscape regulations throughout the community. Raleigh was a little bit difficult to try to get some specific information on. So tonight we are here to have and get some general feedback from the council to help us determine how to move forward with advertising or coming back to you for the development of this committee. And so really we're trying to get some direction on 4 main components to this type of a committee. The first being membership. And actually myself, Adam Huffman, our interim Parks and Rec director, and interim town manager Daniel Weeks, we met, had some conversations about this board and how it may or may not come together. And so, you know, as far as membership is, the town council most certainly, if you chose, you yourselves could be the tree board if you wanted to be. It definitely, most of them are citizen committees that we've see, and they do have a mix. Some require technical expertise. Some just require, you know, residents to be excited about landscape and tree preservation and preserving our natural environment. You can also use an existing board. There is the planning board. There's also the Parks and Rec board, Board of Adjustment, that you could appoint one of those and have a subcommittee of those boards be your tree board. Oversight is another area that is important for us to have some early discussion on. Who's going to oversee the committee? So when this committee meets, there needs to be a staff person there to take minutes and to maintain all of the official records for that committee. So is it the town council yourselves that are going to oversee this committee and be there to make sure proper minutes and that is maintained? Parks and Rec, does it fall underneath the Parks and Recreation Department? Parks and Recreation maintains the majority of the public landscape that we have for all of our public facilities. Public Works, they're going to be responsible for the trimming and maintenance of our street trees. Planning and Zoning, we evaluate landscape, all the regulations, tree preservation, and street trees at the time of development review. However, Planning and Zoning also is responsible for 3 other committees right now. So, you know, do we have the capacity to take on a 4th committee to oversee? Then there's the purpose and responsibilities for this committee. Do they review landscape regulations and amendments, as some of these others do? Provide feedback annually in evaluating what our requirements are? Do they help provide some guidance on where and how we do street trimming? And then in this year's budget, we also have some money designated to start a street tree replacement program. And so it may be a good idea to have the tree board, if it is a citizen committee, to assist with prioritizing where those trees are replaced each year, so it's not staff deciding which neighborhood gets new trees or how to disperse that money throughout the community. So those were some of the ideas that we had in your staff report, and definitely would like to get some feedback or discussion, or how or where would you like to continue this conversation?
I would say this, that I think first of all, we talk about anything that's on your mind, and if you have some ideas on any one of these subjects, you can bring it now. Although it doesn't mean it's in cement, I think we can bring this back again later on, or in the next few weeks back to Gina too. So whatever your thinking is, talk about membership first if you would.
If I could take a moment, because I have been looking, thank you for all your research. That helps a lot when you look at what other towns have done. We've done a lot this year already with tree preservation and historical preservation, and I was looking at other towns and what they've done and thinking a little bit higher than just this tree board. I was wondering if the council would consider something that might, because not to bring in a lot more boards, is there something that would make sense to do, like historical preservation and sustainability, where the tree is a subset of a board that is citizen-led? Something, because we also need to figure out what we want to do with the historical preservation. So I'm thinking that might have some overlap with some of the folks I've talked to who have a passion for both. So I don't want to stop any activity we can do to have an Arbor Day celebration this year, but I was wondering if you guys would be open to a workshop to talk about some of those things, because I think there is a environmental sustainability, tree, historic, that there's a sweet spot that is possible, but maybe, I don't know what your thoughts are. I just thought that might be an option.
I think it's definitely worth the discussion. Because I agree, I do see an overlap, and it would, I think it would be kind of cool. I would like to kind of continue with the committee, kind of how we have our other committees where we do have, it is citizen-led, and we have a council member or two that would be liaisons.
Right.
That would be my suggestion, but yeah, that'd be.
I mean, what you do with the Parks and Rec Board, I think that's a good model. But I like the thought, I mean, for trees, we have an arborist around, so if there's any way that we could have some of their talent be part of this would be great. One of the towns I was looking at, they also had a youth part of the board as well. I thought that'd be kind of cool to bring in that element, so we could have citizens, a youth, maybe a high school, some town members. So in terms of Parks and Rec versus planning, I mean, I think there's talent across all those boards, so we could, I know once we figure out what it is, make use of folks that could maybe come in and out and help us, depending on what the projects are.
Additional comments?
No, I think I agree generally with the makeup of the board being citizens, some with expertise, some with passion and interest. As for a number, I don't have, I think 12 or 15 or some of those larger ones is unwieldy.
We have 19.
But, 5 plus a staff member and a council representative might be a good sweet spot.
I agree.
And I don't want to, add more work to planning, but I think there's a lot of overlap in the responsibilities and purposes regarding the new tree preservation ordinance, the pilot street tree program, and just how a lot of this is has that compatibility with the work that you guys are already doing.
Yeah, same thing with Councilman Villotson. Maybe mirror our Parks and Rec committee, how that's kind of built, where we have maybe town staff, someone there, and then maybe on council, someone be the liaison to work with the staff as well as with the council. But I don't know what the magic number is, whether it's 5 or 7, but
you have 9 on each of your other boards.
Yeah, we have 9 on each.
So if you keep it consistent, you just do 9, and everything's the same unless you start smaller and grow it. The planning board grew by 1 a couple years ago.
We can always,
you can always add.
Right? So I'm thinking maybe start with 5, and then if we do need to add more, then you can, just like we did with Parks and Rec. But I'm thinking maybe 5 would be a start, and then take it from there.
Both of those boards are citizen-led, so I would anticipate, or I guess my thought would be that this board would be no different, still citizen-led. So the role of the council would be a liaison or an ex officio member, not a sitting member of the committee, right there to provide guidance, direction, get thoughts, relay it back to the rest of the board.
Right.
You could also, I would say the same thing for each of the other boards, throw it out to the planning board, throw it out to the Parks and Rec board, and see if any of those individuals would be interested, either in being a member of this tree board, or perhaps because there is so much overlap, I think the same way like the planning board has a TRC rep, in that same right, you could have somebody be a rep to the tree board that could come back to the full planning board and provide insight. And same thing with Parks and Rec, so there might be value to having a couple different members of boards be in an ex officio status where they're not technically on the tree board, but they're there to get information and come back and provide that. So I think that that would be my thought.
What are your thoughts about making it broader than just a tree board with something more, maybe a sustainability or historical?
I think it's better than having more boards, right? So if I think those activities are compatible enough that it makes sense to do. You know, if we come up with a different name that you could have a historical element plus the tree aspect of it, or sustainability.
Combine them or
Right.
have separate?
Well, I think starting, we could combine them, and then if we find that they kind of grow on their own, then we could, you know, at some point separate them, but I think combining them would be okay.
I think combine them.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to it, because I was thinking, we still have that historical home that we need to figure out what to do, that this would be a way for us to look at a citizen board as well to help.
And that's where you also go to, just use 9 as an example, right? Like the other two,
Right.
you go to 9 members, you have so many, you know, you could set it up however you want. You have so many that are historical, or we could tell by vetting the applicants who has historical background, who has tree or arborist background, or what their particular skills and competencies are that are gonna, yeah, right.
And I think this is also a good opportunity for look at internships. I know the town has always used interns for things, and we've seen in the past how that works out. But to look at you know, at NC State or you know, some of our local places to bring in interns to help with the research and stuff like that.
Yep.
From a staff perspective, it is a little complicated because there's a lot of departments that have hands in this. So I think, you know, as Gina said, with the 2 heads that we have in Streets Department now, I think it would be beneficial for, you know, one of them or some representative from Public Works to be present, right, to get some of that direction and idea on where this body would think we need help with street trees or other ideas.
Yep.
So pulling in some of those folks to be a part of the discussion as well.
Absolutely.
You know, we probably need to have one department that's, you know, the oversight administrative body, but then you have other players from some other departments, so there's a well-rounded feel, at least till it's off the ground, and then we can kind of tweak it.
Other thoughts or ideas? Those are all good.
Yeah, our Arbor Day falls very closely to spring fling time frame, so I don't know if there's ways of, you know, looking at organizing events. It touches Parks and Rec, it touches, yeah, a lot of groups, I think. It's exciting.
So for tonight, what are you looking for specifically?
Did you need more information tonight, or is that something to get started on, or?
I mean, I know the purpose and responsibility is going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah,
Right.
I think so.
And I think, so I guess from a staff perspective, I think we can write up some basic membership criteria. But are you at a point where you want us to bring back to you just membership criteria? I think we should have the purpose, responsibilities, and all of that kind of laid out before we advertise for positions.
I agree.
Oh,
Yes,
right,
definitely.
absolutely.
Is that something you want to come back to at another meeting? Is it something that we can have another 5-10-minute conversation as opposed to needing a workshop or anything? I think if we can do 5-10-minute conversations the next couple meetings on this, I think that would work just fine.
How about you take it to each of those other boards as well, like the planning board, if the TRC, I don't think we're meeting this month, but them and Parks and Rec, and get input from them as well, right? So we get all that, and on both the membership and the purpose and responsibilities, so we're getting all of that. And then I think with that information ahead of a meeting, I think we can accomplish it, you know, in a similar fashion to this.
Yeah, I'd like to
Certainly.
see a committee established with, you know, by late fall, and so we can start getting to work on things.
Sure. I'm going to ask Adam Huffman real quick. When is Parks and Rec Committee meet?
Second Thursday
Second Thursday?
of every month. yeah.
Okay. So then maybe we can bring back a conversation to our second meeting in September. We have planning board next week.
Okay.
And then we can go to the Parks and Rec Board
Yeah.
in September and then come back.
Yeah,
Sure.
we'll get that on the agenda for the September Parks and Rec
Yeah.
meeting.
Sherry's our rep there, yeah, okay.
How long
Gina,
does
is-
it generally take for us to, if we say we came in with this criteria and so forth, to advertise, to get applicants, to interview applicants? Is that generally a
Sure.
2-month process in those cases?
Well, we'll need to create an application. I would definitely send to you. I think for us in planning, and I think Parks and Rec's applications are very similar as to what we have people, you know, answer. If there's specific questions that you're going to want on an application, we can definitely put that together. It won't take long. And if I remember correctly, the policy statement that was created about 1.5 years ago, I believe it's an 8-week advertising that we need to do. So it may not be until December or January, actually before this committee may be able to be formed.
Gina, are you aware for us to be viewed as having an Arbor Day this year? Do we have to have the committee in place for like 60 days before Arbor Day, or is there certain criteria that they?
No, actually, for Tree City USA, you don't necessarily have to have an event. It's an event or a proclamation.
Okay.
In honor of Arbor Day. There's no direct money included in this year's budget for an Arbor Day celebration, not that they're, depending on what it is that you want to do and what kind of funds would really be necessary. And this year might be something a little bit smaller as we're getting started. Maybe it is a bigger celebration and it'll be closer towards the end of the year. So if there was some money somewhere that the council wanted to identify for a special celebration.
What else? On the road? Good? For now?
Yep.
Is that enough, Gina? Or?
I think we've got good direction. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Gina.
Thanks, Gina.
Well, we're excited.
So are we. Thank you again. Agenda item 9B, new business, Triangle Water Supply Planning Regional Partnership, Kinder Parish.
Good evening.
Good evening, Kinder.
What is before you tonight is the Triangle Water Supply Planning Memorandum of Understanding. And just to give a little history of this group, as you know, we get our drinking water from Harnett County. We purchase that water from Harnett County. And back in 2009, we also joined in what was then called the Jordan Lake Partnership. It was called the Jordan Lake Partnership because there were several communities that wanted to get allocation from Jordan Lake, and we were seeking additional allocation from Jordan Lake in addition to our Harnett County allocation to take us out for that 50-year window. And that was a requirement of the state. And so we became a partner within the Jordan Lake Partnership, and through that partnership, we one of the projects that came out of that was the interconnection water study that we all currently use today. For example, when Harnett County had to clean their tanks, we had to pull water in from Apex and Cary. That interconnection model helped us model that and be able to monitor that for the days that we were cut off from Harnett County. They also, it developed a 50-year regional water supply plan, and we obtained the allocation of 2.2 million gallons from Jordan Lake. We can get that water through Apex or Cary, or we can receive it over the dam to get it in Lillington, where we currently get the other 10. After that, the termination of that group, the group was still together, and we found benefit in that regionalism for water supply. So the name has changed to the Triangle Water Supply Planning Region, and what's attached tonight is that MOU for that group. And we've had several meetings. Everyone that's in this partnership sends their delegate for engineering, public works, public utilities, and it's a 5-year plan that's attached in the memorandum of understanding. There's voting rules, there's meeting attendance. It's, you know, a lot of the standard things that are in MOUs. One thing I wanted to point out is that within the 5-year project planning period, it does commit us to payment into that partnership, which is very similar to what we've been doing since 2009. The way that that financial contribution is determined is by how many meters your system has. So you've got to find a way to divvy up the cost, and that was how Jordan Lake was, the Jordan Lake Partnership was divvied up, and that's how we've brought it forward with this new agreement as well. So there's 3 tiers, and based on how many meters you have within your system, determines your cost participation. The cost participation for Holly Springs is, it's 5 years, and it's a little different each year, but it's all around about $20,000 a year. That would be taken out of our operating budget, out of our utility fund. So for FY19, we would have that covered, and then every year within the operating budget, we would budget for that participation cost for the group. We get the studies that we need, and we get the benefit of economies of scale, partnering with all the different organizations. And just for maybe the folks that are watching or in the audience that might not know who all is a part of this regional group, I can just quickly go through. The town of Apex, town of Cary, Chatham County, city of Durham, Harnett County, the town of Hillsborough, Holly Springs, Johnston County, town of Morrisville, Orange County, Owasso, which is the Water Sewer Authority in Orange County, and the town of Pittsboro and the city of Raleigh. So those are all the members of the group. We meet about once every 2 months, kind of depending on the agenda. The frequency of the meetings will vary. And with that, I can answer any questions, and tonight is just a motion to enter into this memorandum.
Questions or comments with Kendra at this point?
Is this currently budgeted, the expense that we have now from 2009? Are we still paying the annual membership, and what is that if we are?
So for Jordan Lake Partnership, every year there would be dues for that we've been paying out of the operating budget. For the upcoming year is the $20,800, which would be taken out of operating budget.
Which is in the contract, right? That 20,000, or is the 20,000 the amount we're currently paying?
20,000 is going to be going forward. Under the Jordan Lake Partnership, they would just send us an invoice. I think they send it in April of every year, it seems like. But they would send the invoice and we would pay. In the past, that's how it was handled.
Other questions? More comments? None? Good?
Yep.
Motion.
Motion to enter into a memorandum of agreement to partner in the Triangle Water Supply Planning Partnership.
Second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Kendra.
Thank you.
Item number 10, other business. I'd like to just briefly do my every time crosswalk safety. And Kendra, would you give us an update on where we stand on all the new equipment that we talked about almost every meeting?
Yes.
Please.
So the rapid flashing beacon signs are being installed as we speak. They are almost finished. I think today when one of our staff members checked in with them, they're hoping to be done middle of next week. We did have, I don't know if you noticed, down at Main Street and Pine, we had them install one of the poles and compared it to the existing crossing poles, and we were trying to decide what the best height was since there is a solar panel on top of it. So we did that last week, and they should be finished up here shortly.
Good. Thank you very much. Also speeding, I promised our neighborhoods around us that Thorndale and Sky Grove Drive are two bad places. Mr. Chief of Police, just thought I'd mention Thorndale and Sky Grove Drive. Thought I'd mention. What else? Any other business? Don't have to. Nope. Seeing none?
Well, I just want to say,
go ahead.
Thank Daniel here for guiding us very capably and exceptionally while we were performing our search for the next town manager. I appreciate you stepping in and stepping up and doing a terrific job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
John?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's give Daniel a hand because which leads me to the next item, item 11, the interim town manager's report.
Okay, I guess it'll be my last one for a while.
That's it for a while.
So you probably found a mystery flash drive at your place.
We did.
Tonight. Anybody want to guess what's on that, or state secrets or anything like that?
You told me, so I'm not going to guess.
No, the town staff put together a briefing packet for Mr. Harrington to just acquaint him with all the 15 different departments we have and what their major duties are, key challenges, opportunities, and things like that. And we thought it would be good if you also had a copy of that. So there should be about 15 Word files on that flash drive, each with different department updates. That was one item. Secondly, just a FYI, the Launch Holly Springs, there's an information session for that program
That is on Thursday night, August 23rd, in a couple days, 6 to 7:30 p.m. at UNC Rex Healthcare in their conference room. And the cost, here in Holly Springs, and the cost of that is free.
Free is good.
Free is good. And just finally, as you know, the farmers market this weekend will be taking place at the normal time. It's also Sprout Fest Kids Appreciation Day this weekend. So, oh, is it next weekend? Am I early?
1 week early.
1 week. I sprouted too early. Thanks. So I think that'll be September. Is it September 1st? Or yeah, September 1st is. You're right. I was thinking today was the 27th because Randy was here. Yeah. It's the 21st. So, but September 1st, we won't have a meeting before then. So September 1st is Sprout Fest Day at the farmers market. So in addition to everything you expect at the farmers market, there will also be tons of kids activities, live entertainment, things like that. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Daniel.
Sure.
Item number 12, closed session. Counselor?
Mr. Mayor, I believe you all have decided to go into closed session pursuant to 143.318.11A6 to discuss annual performance review of the town clerk. And for the benefit of the public, I think you're going to, at the end of that, not adjourn the meeting, but continue the meeting to Thursday night at 6 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Where you will go into closed session and discuss my performance evaluation. So,
correct.
So just as a caution, at the end of the night, whoever makes that motion to come out of closed session to not adjourn the meeting, but continue the meeting to Thursday. And that would cover any kind of public notice requirement for the Thursday session.
Need a motion?
Motion to go into closed session pursuant to what
was stated?
Mr. Schifano just said.
Second. Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for coming.